And the first question that I have is that when did you actually hear metal music for the first time?
Well, it depends what you define on metal music. You know, I was born 1970. So was it Black Sabbath? That was the first metal music, or was it Zeppelin? But that was more bluesy. But, you know, well, you know, when I was 3-4 years old, you know, you start to discover things, you know, from my elderly brother that was 10 years old, 5 years older than me. So, I mean, I got my first Kiss record in '76. It was actually a live one that I bought. So, but, you know, I was surrounded by, I don't know, heavy metal music, rock music and stuff like that, you know, and as it progresses, you know, in the beginning of '80s, you know, you had Venom, Welcome to Hell, '81. I got that at that time, you know, the first album with Iron Maiden in '80. I got that when it came out because they opened up for Kiss. So I was curious about that. So, you know, I was just eating it as it was coming on a plate. So.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. Do you remember when you heard first time actually growling and like more extreme metal music? I wouldn't count like Iron Maiden as that extreme.
No, but it was more punkish metal kind of thing, you know, the first two albums, you know. While growling, I don't know, you know, in '83, you know, both Slayer and Metallica was starting it up, you know, and then you have Celtic Frost coming in, and I don't know if that's kind of on its way to growling, and you have the Possessed and yeah, all the shit, you know. So I don't know when someone started to growl first. I mean, Possessed, they don't growl, you know. Death doesn't really growl, but it's death metal still.
Yeah, and those are extreme type of vocals. So
yeah, so I don't know that they're actually deep growling. Was it? I have no clue who was the first to do deep growling. I mean, I have no freaking clue. Most of them were just doing more harsh kind of screaming, you know, like David Vincent was also more high-pitched hissing stuff. So I really don't know. I mean, right now, back of my head, I would just say, you know, Glenn Benton started really going low, but I'm sure there was other bands before that, but now my mind is blank. So I don't know who started growling and shit like that. But, you know, anyway, as it's progressed during the late '80s, you know, with this more defined death metal, as we say death metal today.
So how did you actually end up?
It's just an accident. You know, I had a band called Conquest that I was in '83, '84, '85, and I was trying to sing more like, you know, Tom Araya or Metallica. It sounded horrible, by the way, what I was doing. So that was not really growling. The growling came up for me when I had to jump in on a tour in '93 with Fear Factory, Desultory, and Cannibal Corpse. That was the first tour we did in Europe. And our singer Masek got really sick, so he left and he just went home. He said, "Oh, I want to go to my doctor." And so we were stranded after 5 gigs with I don't know how many boxes of tour shirts and things like that, and we were just sitting going like, what the fuck do we do now? But the thing is, I was actually singing on the first demos with Hypocrisy before we got contract, so I had a little clue of growling, but not that much. And since I wrote basically most of the lyrics on the first album, I still remembered them. So it was just to jump up on stage and wing it as a 3-piece, and that was also horrible in the beginning, you know. But I was learning over a 4 or 5 weeks process on stage.
That's pretty harsh way to start it.
Oh, it's like a gun to your head every day until you started feeling comfortable. And I think at the end of the tour, you started to get a hang of it a little bit, but still there was no YouTube so you could check, you know, how the fuck do I sound? So I really don't know how it sounded in the beginning there.
So did you lose your voice pretty much like after every night, or did it take a long time to sort of figure out some kind of like technique to have the voice on still after the show?
Well, on the first tour, it was just going up and just do everything you can. I never lost the voice. I probably got very sore and harsh, but I didn't give a shit. You know, it's like at the moment you just go and do it. You know, it's the only way to do it. And after that, when we got home, we just decided what the hell should we do now, because it seemed like there was no interest from the old singer, because we found out he went to Roskilde instead while we were on tour, so he wasn't that sick. So we kind of fired him right away when we got back home. And then we were thinking about who should we get, and I was in the studio that I borrowed from my friend, and I was gonna try to sing on one of the Osculum songs to just see how it sounds like on album. And that's why we did this Inferior Devotees EP in '94, I think. And then we figure out like, okay, it's not too bad. I will stick to the singing then, and that the rest is history.
So did it take a long time to sort of figure out the right technique for the singing for you?
I'm still figuring it out, you know. I guess you get hopefully better every time. I think on the last album I think the vocals are pretty good, you know. It's very deep, but still you can hear the clearness of the words and things like that. And that took me a while to figure out, because every time I was on stage I felt like, yeah, this sounds good and things were working fine, but in the studio I could never get the same feeling. So in the studio I just started blasting full volume on the speakers, and I was singing against it instead of having headphones and trying to I was recording at the same time and trying to figure out where I can sing best, you know, in which technique, because of the monitor situation, you know. And I would say right now the monitor situation is the most important thing for me to be able to pull it off, I would say.
So did you ever had like any vocal lessons? No.
Well, actually, in the beginning of 2000, because I was starting to, you know, things were starting to rolling with pain, but that was like singing clean vocals. I had this girl that helped me out with technique, but you know, as soon as I left, I forgot it already. So I was there like 2 or 3 times, but that's about it. So and that was mainly for clear vocals, you know.
So did that sort of help you also with the growling stuff when you figured out like more better ways to sing also properly?
No, that I figured out myself, not to push too hard with the throat and always pushing with your stomach, you know. And I think everybody needs to find their own technique. It's so individual, I would say, you know. There's not a ABC book of how to growl. It's something that you have to discover yourself, and you have to mainly develop your own technique to not blow your voice or to sound good or whatever, you know. I mean, the high-pitched screams and stuff like that, I kind of lost it for 5-6 years, but now I got it back, because just a simple thing as like you have to like like this with your mouth, and then it's easier with your throat to go super high, for example. And I forgot about that. So, you know, the last couple of years I was like, that's how you do that. And you know, when you do a lot of pain gigs, it takes a while to come back to the growling, and the opposite as well, you know. But when you don't do too many, if you do too many Hypocrisy stuff and go back to the pain stuff, it's, yeah, you just have to like really reboot your brain kind of, because you're going in it's 2 different techniques, and sometimes it gets confusing. But now lately, like I said, you know, I've started to figure everything out, hopefully, you know. But also you can have a good day and a bad day on a show, you know. It doesn't matter what kind of technique you do or whatever, you know. If you have a bad day, it's gonna suck.
Yeah, obviously, but we are humans, so not robots. Yeah, so that can happen to, and it's a lot of things that can actually cause it.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you started singing and growling, were you doing like some specific covers and sort of trying to copy some singer with the singing, or were you like immediately trying to sort of figure out your own style and your own voice with the singing? Can you remember that?
I think I was trying to copy other singers, but I wasn't sitting and listening to it and then listening to mine and back and forth. It was just I had in mind how it should sound, and I tried to create that with my growling and singing and so on, you know.
So what singers do you have something in your mind that you were sort of like copying the early phase?
I mean, in the beginning of the 90s, I think I wanted to try to combine Glenn Benton with David Vincent and also LG Petrov. So that was something that the three highlight bands, so to say, Morbid Angel, Deicide, and Entombed. That was the perfect mix for me. You know, Entombed is a little bit more, what do you say, simple music, simplified compared to American, because it's more complex. But these two things together, I think that's how Hypocrisy grew out of thinking about being the perfect style for us. And of course, it went a little bit different, you know, but I think all bands that starts always try to copy somebody from the beginning. That's how they got influenced, by starting themselves. So I think the first albums of bands, they're very influenced by what they started by. And then they start to go on their own path and create their own vision of what they're doing, because they get more self-confidence and not a cover band of their idols, so to speak. And I'm the same way. So
were those three guys that you mentioned just like the biggest influences you as a vocalist?
Not the biggest influence as vocalist, but vocalist for Hypocrisy, put it that way. That's what I thought would fit for Hypocrisy. And yeah, and I do like the guys a lot still, what they did. And I mean, still do. But except of course LG, you know. So I mean, for me, there's a lot of good singers, you know, anything from Dio, Rob Halford, you know, you name it, you know, Bruce Dickinson. There's a lot of good singers, mainly not, you know, death metal or anything like, but pure good fucking singers.
Yeah,
that influenced me a lot also.
So like you said that you were pretty much like dropped directly to the cold waters when you started like doing growling on the first like European tour. So did you have some kind of like preparations for the show back then, or was it like that you just hit on stage and started doing, were you doing like any vocal warm-ups, or was that like anything that was in your mind when you jumped on stage?
I never warmed up. I still don't ever warm up. And I never will. It works fine. I'll just go out and just wake up the vocal cords like that with the start. Start with the first scream on Worship, you know, when we go out on stage, and just scream my ass off as long as I can. That's my warm up, and then the verse starts, and then you start singing.
Okay, and you noticed like immediately that the voice sort of works when it was
Is it there or is it not? You know, and then, you know, you have a couple of seconds to adjust your mind to it, and then you start singing, and then 1.5 hours later, either you are happy or you cry. So yeah.
Are there like some specific foods or drinks, for example, that you won't like to eat or drink before the show, that you have noticed that it does some difference to your voice?
Well, if I drink coffee right before I sing, or take snooze, then or while I'm singing, so to say, then it will fuck up my voice for sure. It will make it very harsh somehow. Sometimes I like to have a lot of sugary drinks on stage, you know, in between the waters. Like, for example, like, I don't know, Coca-Cola or Fanta or something really greasy, because it helps a little bit, you know, not make it so dry in the throat, you know.
Yeah, quite a lot of singers I've interviewed during this series have said the same, that like Coca-Cola is, for example, quite good for the throat.
Yeah, and you know, it's even better if you put some vodka in there, you know.
Yeah, I was already imagining that it's in your list that vodka is also in the bottle.
Yeah, not too much, just a little bit, you know, and you have a couple of those and, you know, you're feeling great.
So what were like your parents' reactions when they first heard that you were forming a death metal band and starting to growl?
Oh, I don't know. They were used to all this shit since I was 8, 9 years old, you know,
Okay.
with guitars, and I got drums. I was sitting in the bathroom playing drums together with AC/DC and stuff like that, simple stuff, you know, and that's how it started. So they've been around. And plus, you know, my whole my bedroom was covered with the Kiss posters and shit, both ceilings and around, and they knew what they got, put it that way.
Okay. Last question. Are there like any
Mm.
kinds of advices that you would like to give to a young metal vocalist who is just about to start a journey?
I would say just keep on doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, and eventually you will figure out what makes you feel comfortable on singing and makes you happy to hear yourself from a recording and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just learning by doing, in my opinion. It's the same thing by writing music. Just keep on writing and writing and writing and writing. It will eventually get better and better and better, I would say. You know, it's just practice.
Thank you.
All right, cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, but see you soon in Finland
Yeah, you will have
with both bands.
both bands. Yeah, you will have Pain in which festival was it? Pain is in Himos and
Yeah.
Hypocrisy is in North of Hell and Dark River.
Exactly.
Yep.
So in the hippo, my son has to jump in on drums, so that's going to be
Okay.
interesting to see, because as you know, Henrik, our new drummer, he's also in the Crown.
Okay. Yeah, and
they're
Crown
playing.
plays.
They play the next day while we're going up north.
Okay.
So there's no way to do it, and they couldn't change anything. So he has to jump in and help us out. So I know a lot of people thought Sebastian was gonna jump in and do the drums after Horg, but that was not the case. But now he has to help us out. So.
So now the rumors will start flowing again.
Oh yeah. It will be a lot.
But it's good that you have somebody like that close that can basically help out, because now
Yeah.
everybody's out on the road. So I guess it's pretty hard to find like people to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, first you have to find a drummer that knows your song, and that was
Yeah.
good with Henrik because he knew Hypocrisy songs, so it was already in his system a little bit, you know, not by playing it and stuff, but and yeah, my son grew up with this shit, so he knows them very well as well now, so he will help out now, and plus he's also doing the Pain concert, of course.
Is it more stressful for you that there's like both bands out now doing stuff? Isn't like normally for you that you do like one band at a time?
I would love to do only one band at a time, but
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, you have no choice, or you know, you have to take care of. There's a lot of things, you know. You have a crew of and band members, so you know, there's a lot of people involved in every band, and you know, people need to make money, you know, if you want to keep them, otherwise they move on, so to speak.
So you have
And
the background different in both bands.
Yeah.
Like crews.
Well, crew, yeah, but now maybe I don't know. Somehow we're looking for some people to help us out with both bands. So maybe there will be 50% same crew on both bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, things can get quite mixed, so to say.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't the original plan for you, that your plan was to do one band in one summer and the another one in the next.
I mean, I've done it a few years now. I mean, before the COVID, and you know, it works fine if it has some time in between. But you know, also we just got back from American tours. We have 30 gigs behind us. You know, we're well-oiled machine, so it shouldn't be a problem. You know, Pain we haven't played since we played in Russia, the last show before the whole chaos broke out. And when was that? In February, I think. So it's a little rusty, but you know, we practice together and then we get it back pretty fast.
Yeah. Hey, it was pleasure once again to talk with you and catch you at the shows.
Exactly. Have a good one. See
Have
you
a good
soon.
day.